moving day, and I am so excited. My entire life, I felt like I had never fit in, and I was finally going to my dream college. We put all the boxes into my car, we drive over to my new dorm, and I waved goodbye to my dad. I put the boxes inside, I start unpacking them. And I'm starting to put all my art on the wall and making this my beautiful new home. And then all of a sudden, the phone rings, and it's all over. My father was in a car accident on the way home, and he died. And so all of my boxes and I went back home to my devastated mother and my heartbroken sister. And I was lost. I went to a new college, I lived at home, and everything, including myself, stayed inside those boxes. Some people deal with trauma by drinking. Others do drugs. My mom, she stayed on the couch for almost a year. Instead, I became a super high-octane overachiever. I didn't acknowledge the trauma of my father's death, and no one at school knew about it because I didn't act like it. I was Neha. I was taking the world by storm. I started my company in college, I triple majored, and I graduated in less than 3 years. And I just kept achieving and achieving and achieving. I had the money, the sports car, the home, the travel. Name a city, pick a city. New York, London, Paris. I was there. I was part of the cool kids crowd. They'd say, Neha, you are the life of the party. You are the queen of connection. And sometimes they'd say, Neha, how do you do it all? And I would just laugh. But then I would come home, and I'd shut the door. I'd take off all my makeup, and I'd crawl into bed. And sometimes I would cry myself to sleep. Nobody knew me. I didn't even know me. Now, I want to be really honest. I am not trivializing my accomplishments. I did do all of those amazing things. But sometimes we run towards something as we are running away from something else. And so today I want to ask you one simple question. How do you define achievement? Is it the car, the home, or the beautiful handbag? Is it the college degree, the fancy job title, or is it who you know? We are living in a world where our self-worth is defined by our net worth. Overachievement is expected at any cost. But is achievement killing us? Achievement isn't labeled as a health epidemic because on the outside, it is this beautiful dream come true. According to Dr. Raisin, a researcher at the University of Mississippi, she has found that the achiever is applauded even when they sacrifice their health, their relationships, and all other facets of their lives. She sees that achievement can go completely undiagnosed, and sometimes the achiever receives promotions for these unhealthy habits. Dr. Raisin sees achievement as a partly hidden experience. There is no visible hangover on the outside like a night of drinking and drugs. But on the inside, when you don't take care of yourself, it turns into a disease. And it doesn't just affect the achiever, it affects everyone around them. People are worried, stressed, anxious, depressed, lonely, isolated. I could go on and on and on. Sometimes it can even lead to suicide. Kate Spade, Robin Williams, Anthony Bourdain. We were all so shocked by their deaths. We didn't know why this happened. I believe that it is because we are defining success as achievement. What if we broadened our definition of achievement to include the entire human experience, both the joy and the sadness? Today, I want to redefine achievement. Achievement is the authentic pursuit to self-discovery. It is the journey as well as the result. And on my journey, I started elite private tutors and college shortcuts. I worked with the most high-performing, high-achieving teenagers around the globe, many of whom were just like me. I am so grateful to my students because they helped me to discover my path. My students were a gift to me. Meet Brianna. She had chocolate brown eyes, beautiful long brown hair. She was so excited. She lived in this beautiful home. She was lacrosse captain, and she couldn't wait for prom next year. We were working on her college essays, and she casually mentioned to me, well, you know, my real mom lives in a different state. And the minute she says it, she is so uncomfortable in her skin. And so I hold the space, and I ask her about it. And that's when Brianna told me her secret. Brianna's real mom was a severe drug abuser. There were nights Brianna would wake up and her mother would be screaming at the top of her lungs for no reason. At the worst of it, Brianna had woken up with the soap bar being shoved down her throat and almost thrown out the window. Her aunt had finally came to the rescue. Here she was, living in this beautiful home, going to this beautiful private school, and no one knew her secret. And so I told Brianna this would be a very powerful topic for your college admissions essay. As she processed her story and we worked together, she became more and more confident. She got into every school she wanted. And at the end of the year, she decided to read her essay to her peers and her friends. They had no idea. I gave Brianna the permission to be vulnerable. But ultimately, Brianna was my teacher. And then there was John. John was 6 foot, blonde, blue-eyed. He was the most well-spoken teenager I had ever met. He wanted to be a dentist and follow in his dad's footsteps. And we worked on all of his essays together. He got into every school. We wrote about his passion, his drive, his motivation. He got hundreds and thousands of dollars in scholarships. And so I said, you know what, John, let's go to lunch. So I take John to lunch, and all he can keep talking about is, I can't wait to leave here. I can't wait to leave. And I noticed something was off about John. His skin was full of acne. He had lost so much weight, and his energy was completely off. And so I asked John one simple question. John, has anything happened over the last few months? And that's when John looked me straight in the eye, and he said, Neha, my parents went through a really messy divorce. I've been shuffled between my dad's home and my mom's apartment. They're fighting all the time. I don't even know if I want to be a dentist anymore. John was disillusioned, and this was coming at a very difficult time. And so I looked at John, and I put my hand in his, and I said, John, I know exactly what it feels like to achieve the dream and then to question if it makes sense. In that moment, John felt like a 100-pound weight had lifted off his shoulders. One thing about teenagers is that trauma or not, it is an intense rite of passage. It is a time where all of our beliefs are discovered about achievement, and it is a challenging time of self-discovery. Who am I? Will I fit in? Can I make a mistake? Will I be loved? The stakes feel so high, and it's not easy. But when we think about these questions, they are relevant to all human beings. And when we dig underneath the surface, when we look inside, these questions are exactly what we're asking, even as adults, with every decision and every choice. And after working with several thousand teenagers over the last few years, I have identified 3 factors that can help all of us to experience achievement, success, and fulfillment. First, We must identify our contribution. When we live a life of service, it drives fulfillment. Now, this can be as simple as talking to someone that you know, picking up the phone if you know they're feeling lonely or struggling. For me, I went to Africa over the last few months, and I built a school in my late father's name. It was the most profound experience of my life. I met these cute little kids, and they barely had anything, but they had so much joy and happiness. When we shift our lives from consumption to contribution, our life changes to technicolor. Next, you must connect with yourself. Meditate, go to a yoga class, travel solo, relax. I have to admit, this was the hardest step for me. At first, it felt like I was just tolerating myself. What do I do? But I decided to commit to meditation for 30 days. And through those classes, those first 30 days, I was sobbing after every class. I had to let the emotions go through me. And after that, being so committed to the process, I now experience meditation in such euphoria. When you sit in silence, you listen, and you ask yourself, what is going on inside my heart? And when you do this, you will show up in the world centered, grounded, and much more powerful. Last, get a coach and learn to ask for help. If I had a coach as a teenager, I wouldn't have experienced such fear and such shame. I wouldn't have felt so alone. And I would have had someone standing by me as I was struggling through that process. They say that if you want to climb to Mount Everest, you have an increased chance of getting to the top if you have a guide. Think about Michael Jordan or Shaun White or any top CEO. All of them have coaches. A coach can tell you where your blind spots are. They can challenge you, and they can support you in your struggle. Recently, I used a coach to do the one thing I knew I had to do. Look inside that box. It was one of the hardest things. But what I found inside was a part of me that was missing. And I became the most wholesome version of myself. I know that if I did not have a coach, I may have never gone through that box. And it was the encouragement of a coach that helped me. I believe that with these 3 steps, we together can redefine achievement. Yes, you can have the dream college, you can have the dream car and the beautiful family, but it is nothing without you in the equation. Thank you.